Army of the Dead saw Zack Snyder return to the zombie genre 17 years after his Dawn of the Dead remake. Our opinions of that weren't particularly high, but our audience demanded that this 2.5-hour monstrosity be covered on the show. So here we are. Thanks, guys. Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Tim.
Yo.
Welcome everyone. This is a horror movie podcast. We get together, we talk about a horror film we've watched. It really is quite that simple. And we had a debt to pay because there was a vote. So Tim, of course, took some time off for probably about 2/3 of last year because he was becoming a
man.
Yes, he was becoming a man. He was becoming a father, and as a result, there was some. The Patreon vote still kept going for a while, even though we weren't doing episodes. Most of those were fulfilled via Sacred Hockey Mask, which was kind of a fill-in show for a little bit. But the one that never got done was Army of the Dead. Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. And I have been hounded by one person in particular, and you know who you are, to fulfill this Patreon vote winner that happened over a year ago at this point. In fact, it may even be exactly a year ago.
Well,
so we're here today to pay our debts to the house, as it were. Which, you know, it's a reference to the movie because it's set in Vegas. I'll get to the premise in a second, but you know, it's not the first zombie Zack Snyder film we've done in the show. We did his Dawn of the Dead remake.
That's true.
A couple of years ago, and that was not great. I think. I think we both came out of that feeling like it was even worse than either of us remembered.
Yeah, because I mean, I think, you know, at the time when it came out, I was reasonably happy with it, and then probably haven't really watched it that much since, and then revisiting it, not so great. I guess if I was going to be generous, I would say it's probably higher up on my list of Zack Snyder movies, but I mean, it's not really saying much.
I mean, it's better than Sucker Punch. I mean, I could say that without saying much. It's I suppose it's better than Batman v Superman. Again, not saying much, but so it is with much hesitation and trepidation that we enter into Army of the Dead. He decided to return to the zombie genre after all the DC stuff fell through. He went to Netflix, and they seemed quite happy to throw some money at him, and he went off and made this movie. The general premise of which is that a zombie outbreak has happened in Las Vegas, and as a result, you know, it's set after this has all went down, and Las Vegas is actually quarantined and is filled with zombies, but they've built a barricade around it so that everyone on the outside is safe. And the core story of the film is that a bunch of like mercs who were kind of like instrumental in like saving people during the evacuation and like sort of like those like, you know, ground zero type days of the zombie outbreak. This rich guy comes to them and says, I have $200 million in a vault underneath a casino in Las Vegas. They're going to nuke the city in like 3 days. So if you can get in and get out, you can keep, you know, because the insurance company's already reimbursed me for all the money that I can't get from Las Vegas. So it's kind of just sitting there. So if you go get it, you get a big cut of it, and it's a heist movie. It's a heist movie in a zombie city.
Mercenaries having to go into a zombie-filled city with a countdown before it's nuked. Why does that sound familiar? Where have I heard that before?
Do you think Zack Snyder's played Resident Evil 3?
I mean, at this point, I couldn't even tell you what the man's life is like.
That's not actually the biggest thing that, like, because I think the concepts are so broad, although there is some of the stuff towards the end in the helicopter that feels like almost shot for shot, like some of the cutscenes from the end of Resident Evil 3. But actually the bigger thing that I think he rips off in this movie is Aliens. I'm going to talk a lot about moments from Aliens that are like outright kind of lifted and in this, but we'll get all to that in spoilers. We'll start spoiler free as we always do. We'll give you some warning before we get into it, and you know, obviously what we didn't mention is the cast. The main character is Big Dave Bautista.
big old teddy bear.
Big old teddy bear Bautista. Other notable mentions: Tig Notaro's like the helicopter pilot. Like I mainly know her from Star Trek Discovery, but she's a comedian. People know her face from various things.
No, her stand up is actually very funny. And do you know the controversy? But do you know how she got into this movie?
I do not actually. What happened?
Well, originally her character was played by another comedian, Chris D'Elia, who, if you know, around the time after they made this movie, but before it came out, there started to be some rumors going around about maybe him having, not being the best person, maybe, chatting up some, women of a particularly young age, if you know what I'm saying.
I don't know why you're phrasing it so weirdly, but yes, I know what you're saying.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get sued. I don't know exactly what was determined if we can be liable for anything, but
just put the word allegedly in front of it.
Allegedly, yeah.
Yes, that's how you need to do it.
Allegedly. So they actually CGI'd, I think, like her like replaced his character with Tig Notaro's, which hey, I don't like a lot of like Zack Snyder's movie, but I mean, hey, good on him on replacing a.
I do. It's funny you say this because I did kind of notice some sort of green screeny moments with her, and I guess that's why is because they were kind of adding her in after the fact. Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
Now, I mean, I don't want to go too much into that creep or anything, but there is kind of a funny clip of him on this like talk show or whatever where he so I guess like some of the accusations is that he would like send Snapchats to like young girls or whatever, under the age, allegedly. And there's actually a clip of him on I don't know if it was like some morning show or a talk show, and they're talking about Snapchat, and like someone says something about it, and then he says like something like, oh yeah, but like when you like Snapchat someone, like it's like temporary, like it goes away, right? And then like someone's like, well yeah, unless you save it. And then you just see his like face like change color. He's like what like yeah, like you can save Snapchats, and he's like, huh, okay. Like yeah, so I mean, screw that guy obviously, but that is like kind of a funny clip.
That would certainly point to his guilt, perhaps being more likely than not. That's pretty funny. So sometimes you just own yourself. You don't need anyone else to do it for you. Yeah. So
and then of course we have the one of the main female characters who for almost all of the movie I thought was the girl from It Follows, and then after I looked it up I was like, oh no, it's not.
Oh, you mean the daughter, like Kate, the Bautista's daughter? Yeah. Haven't you seen Yellow Jackets? She's on Yellow Jackets apparently. Oh,
okay, that's where I know her from. Yeah, she looked very familiar, and I kind of thought, I was like, oh, like, is she from, like, she may be the main character from It Follows?
No, that's Micah Monroe, I think her name is, something like that.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
But it's always funny is I actually thought she looked really familiar as well, but I looked her up and I didn't see anything I'd seen her in, so I think she just looks like someone else.
Yeah.
Not her from It Follows, funnily enough. I don't think she looks like her, but I think she looks like someone else. And that was pretty much all I mean, I recognize Theo Rossi, who plays kind of a dickbag in this, and he was on Luke Cage, which is where I recognize him from. The billionaire who like sends them in, Japanese actor, I recognize him from a couple things, but like nothing sticks out.
Yeah, and then I did recognize one other guy who was it's funny because there was like I think it was like a 3-season sitcom called Raising Hope, which I actually thought was pretty funny. But the dad on it was really funny, and he plays I forget the character's name, but the character on Raising Hope was named Bert. So I kept wanting to think of him as Bert in this movie, but Bert was another character in this. So I know he's not Bert, but he's like the other guy that I can only describe him by saying something spoilery, so I can't really say much.
Is he the guy that works for the billionaire?
Yeah.
Okay, you can say that with as well. Yeah, that's not a spoiler. Okay. Yeah, he actually did look familiar to me as well. I think he's popped up in a few TV shows. I've never seen that one, so I've never seen him in like a starring role where he's more memorable, but I think he's popped up here or there. So I mean, I guess without further ado, Tim, what did you think of this 2.5 hour zombie movie?
Well, first we should mention that we are recording this on Memorial Day, so as always, we do salute our zombie soldiers.
I thought you were going to say dead soul. I was going to say and undead. Let's not leave the undead
out. So I wasn't looking forward to watching this movie again. Yes, that's right. I did watch this before.
So did I, because I watched
really?
it. I watched it because I thought I was going to review it last year, and then lo and behold, so here we are.
Yeah. So are you familiar with the phrase compliment sandwich?
Would this be a compliment housed in insults or non-compliments?
Pretty much, yeah. It's like when you want to break bad news to someone, you give them a compliment, then you break the bad news, and then another compliment. So it's like it takes it in a little easier. Okay. So I guess I'll give this movie a compliment sandwich. So I'll start off and say, I think there's some decent enough ideas in here. The general premise I think is solid. Like, I like that it's not a typical zombie outbreak, and then people are like housed in like a building or something, trying to come together or whatever. Like, it's like, okay, I was joking that there's similarities to like Resident Evil 3, but I mean, other than that though, like I can't really think of another movie like this. I don't know if it's the best horror premise. It definitely sounds more like an action movie, despite the zombies and stuff.
It goes obviously very different directions once things get going, but I would say the premise is the closest I can think of is Peninsula, because they're gonna like get money.
Oh sure, yeah.
It's not a vault per se, so it's not much of a heist, but like it's a team of people put together to go into the country that's full of zombies to so yeah. I could there's a bit of comparison there maybe.
That's fair, yeah. So I'll give that, it's a decent enough premise, and then there's stuff like I think some people are kind of making fun of this and didn't like this, but I kind of like the idea of like there being alphas and stuff here, just because it kind of shakes things up and it's a little different than the normal zombie stuff. So I'm like, oh yeah, you have like an alpha queen or whatever. I'm like, okay, that's like an interesting enough idea. And even stuff like having the zombie animals, again, it's like, okay, like this is a little something I haven't seen before, so I'll give it credit for some stuff like that. And now to the shit part of the compliment sandwich.
Oh, I don't. Wait a minute. Compliment. Were you supposed to have like another compliment for after, so that it was like sandwiched?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
you got something else.
Shit.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll end.
I thought you were done with the compliments. I thought that was there.
I guess technically, I mean, I feel like if I guess it doesn't really make sense, because if the bad thing is in the middle, then it would be like a shit sandwich, because you don't call like the compliments are the bread, and it's usually what's in the middle that makes it a sandwich stuff. But hey, who cares? So I mean, now you got to talk about the bad though. I don't care for this movie. It's so long. It's way too long. I don't really find the characters particularly enjoyable to be around. Like I do like Dave Bautista. I think he's a good actor. I think he's usually fun when he shows up in things. And like I like the daughter and stuff, and like some of the characters I guess were okay, but I don't know, like a lot of them I found annoying. Like I didn't really like the safecracker guy. He was like trying too hard to be funny, and I really don't think like Zack Snyder does comedy well. Like a lot of his stuff that I think are jokes, like they're still played with this kind of like seriousness that, like, I don't know, it still feels like he's doing like the dramatic stuff, and I feel like there's like so much dumb serious dramatic weights that are trying to go on in this movie, like with like the father daughter like trying to reconnect and like all this stuff. It was just so overwrought and annoying to me, and like I didn't really buy it. And then just like I don't know, I just kind of found it boring. Like I don't think there's like a lot of action really in it. Like, and then once this stuff does kind of start happening, it's usually kind of shot in the Snyder way that I'm not super fond of. It's like a lot of like very slow-mo and like very glossy kind of music video like shots that I don't know, I just don't care for it. And I don't know, I don't like, I think it'd be very easy to sound like the angry nerd and go on a rant about oh, Zack Snyder, blah blah blah, like whatever. I'm sure he's a decent enough guy. It's probably not his fault that he has like the most annoying fan base in the world. Like, sorry. But whatever. I'm sure. Like it seems like he's like done like some good personal stuff, and like like donating to charities and all that crap. And then like and people seem to like to work with him, so whatever. Hey, friend of the show, good guy, who cares.
Whoa.
But but it's unfortunate to say that I just don't like his style, and I do think it is cool that he has a style, because there's a lot of movies nowadays that are just very bland and generic and formulaic. So I guess kudos that he kind of has a style that he adheres to. It's just unfortunate that I don't like it, and because it does tend to be so long and kind of in your face, it does make it kind of a chore a lot of the times to sit through his stuff. So I didn't really care for it. And then I don't know, I couldn't really think of another compliment to add at the end. Oh, another like signature of his is like really annoying needle drops. God damn it. Yeah, there's some really, really dumb ones in here. And it was annoying too, because it felt like he was like literally just doing the same stuff they did in whatchamacallit, Dawn of the Dead. Like, it opens with like this croony version of that Las Vegas song, and it's like over this like montage of zombie stuff, and it's like he literally did like the croony song over mall zombie stuff in the Dawn of the Dead. I think that was more of them like just having fun at the mall instead of killing zombies or whatever. But it's like like you're doing like the same kind of shtick here, and I don't like it. And then he ends like the movie with that zombie song by the Cranberries or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like,
I rolled my eyes. Well,
it's so dumb.
Honestly, one of the things that I would say about Zack Snyder's style that I don't like, even before you get to the filmmaking, is that this movie feels like he just wants to show off his cool playlist that he really likes, and
absolutely, yeah.
there is a song or a cover of a song like every 5 minutes, and it feels like he built a movie around where all his favorite tracks would get to play, and
totally.
He didn't do it too much, obviously, in the superhero movies, because they don't really lend themselves to songs in the same way.
Yeah.
But it's something that is a part of his work that's been in a lot of his other stuff. And there's a lot of that in this, to the point where, like, there's certain points where, like, a new montage will start playing, or a new scene will start playing with music over it, and I'm rolling my eyes, because it's just like, come on, dude. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't like the movie. I don't think that was going to be surprising to anyone that I wasn't going to be into this. I agree that the basic concept is fine. Like, there's totally nothing wrong with it. It sounds like a fun idea for a movie. This movie's 2.5 hours long.
85-minute movie.
Yeah, this movie's 2.5 hours long, and it's, I think you're like 50 minutes in before they're actually entering Vegas.
That sounds about right. Like they have the typical, you got to get the band back together kind of scene, but like usually in most movies it's like, like 2 or 3 minutes on each character. So it's like, after 10 minutes it's like, oh, like we got them all back together. Like this, it just seemed like it went on and on and on. Yeah,
it felt like a long time recruiting characters who we, as of yet, don't really know. And I get that that's maybe the point, is that we learn who they are one by one, but it kind of feels like, yeah, but this could have been condensed into a bit more of a montage at points, or something, like, but like it spends ages doing that and assembling all the characters. I also find a lot of the characters kind of, I don't know, like I would describe Zack Snyder's style in the ultra slow motion that he uses, and all the sort of like the songs that he has playing over. And given the length of this movie, I would describe this movie as self-indulgent, and I don't know if that's harsh. But that's what it feels like to me.
Sure.
Anytime an action scene starts up, I find myself like just like thinking about him, like being proud of what he's done here, rather than actually enjoying or engaging in the scene that I'm getting. And the jokes are lame, I agree. And this movie is filled with things that it's like, it's got a character who's clearly supposed to be Vasquez. It's got a character who's clearly supposed to be Burke, the company man who's got like an ulterior motive.
Dubious.
Yes, there you go. There's a big moment in the final chunk of the movie that's just a direct lift from Aliens, and even the idea you've got this team going into like the danger zone where all the enemies are is a little. I mean, that wouldn't be enough, but you add all that up, there's a lot of aliens in this movie, even though it's dealing with zombies. And then you have other things. You have like there's a scene that felt ripped right out of Train to Busan. I mentioned Peninsula earlier, but there's actually a scene where it uses one of the mechanics kind of from that in this. So there's a lot of stuff I felt being derivative, which you can't really avoid, I suppose, at this point because it's a zombie movie, and like there's only so many new zombie ideas that we're going to get on a regular basis. But I don't really know like why he felt the need to return to the zombie genre. I don't feel there's anything particularly exciting about the premise of this. I mean, the premise on its own is fine and fun, and if it was again 90 minutes, like it could probably have some good stuff. But that bugs me. So I don't like the way he shoots action. I think it's just over the top and self-indulgent. I don't like a lot of his characters, and that's the problem I have in all of his movies, is I tend not to like his characters. And all of the attempts to try and give them emotion, like you say, the father-daughter stuff or any other moments between characters, it feels like he's trying really hard, but it just comes off as kind of melodramatic. So I don't know, I feel like, someone who does have a sense of style, but it's a style that I don't like, is just kind of like making this concoction of better movies into his own style. And nothing about that is exciting to me. Now, I will say that despite all of that, it is definitely not his worst. In fact, I might say it's better than he's done on the Dead remake, if I was pushed. Maybe. I'd maybe have to watch it again to properly decide.
Tough.
But thinking about it right now, I feel like I don't think it's as bad as that. It's definitely not as bad as Batman v Superman. It's definitely not Sucker Punch, because geez, but it, I don't feel much for it either. I still find myself noticing a lot of Zack Snydery things about it that I don't like.
At the very least, it's kind of easier to ignore because all his DC movies, it's like it's setting up a universe and it's doing things with characters that you enjoy the other versions of these characters, but you don't like what he's doing with them. And then, like, Dawn of the Dead remake is a remake of a very beloved horror film. So at the very least, it's just kind of like a standalone. It's like, all right, well, at least you're not like in some way ruining or doing something I like to like existing franchises or characters that I enjoy.
Yeah, it's something that I can just dislike and just move on. But we had to review it, so we're here to pick it apart and talk about all the things we didn't like, and we'll get into the thick of it in a second. But I'm gonna try to think if there's anything else. I mean, it does look fairly big budget, but I will say the CGI on a few things, especially the tiger that's going around.
Yeah.
Not good.
Great.
Pretty rough. Yeah. Pretty rough. So does that.
It's 2021 CG, so it's like a little outdated by this point.
Oh yeah, the 1 year.
Yeah.
Very good. Yes. But it's if I'm being as kind as possible, it's perfectly watchable, but just very bloated and self-indulgent. That would be how I describe this movie.
Well, I mean, like when I said that I watched it before, what I mean is that, well, it was on Netflix, and there was probably a moment when I didn't have anything else to watch, so I threw it on while I did dishes and stuff. Like, it's not like I sat it down and watched it for like 2.5 hours straight.
Oh sure, and it's worth mentioning that I didn't watch this in one sitting. I had to split it in two. I couldn't stomach watching the whole thing. I got about an hour in. There's 90 minutes left. Damn right, I'm going to take a break. I'll come back and watch the rest as a 90-minute movie, and do it that way.
Way to do it.
Yeah, it's just not interesting. The amount of time it takes to get to like the stuff, and I know that like you do need to build up, and if you compare it to Aliens, like Aliens, especially in the longer cut, I mean it takes a while before the actual aliens attack, right? But there's so much mystery about what's going on. Have the aliens killed everyone? Like, there's a lot of tension on the way there. But because of the way these characters act about what they're doing, and they're kind of already badasses, and they've already sort of dealt with zombies, there's not really this like great fear going in. Like, they keep talking about how it's like dangerous and like maybe it's a bit of a suicide mission, but you never really feel like they're actually, like, because in Aliens we have Ripley, right? So even if the Marines are being cocky, she is terrified and she's taking everything so seriously. Yeah. In this, everyone's just kind of like,
Yeah, and at least like in Aliens, like they do feel like more of a cohesive team. Like this, it kind of feels like you know, there's like lots of like little separate groups and pairs, and then like people just kind of like split off and don't see them. Like,
and of course, one of the characters, well, a pair of the characters actually, two characters that are on the team were recruited because they do like YouTube videos about killing zombies.
Yeah. Awesome.
I mean, I hated that. I'll say that much. I hated that immediately. And of course, Zack Snyder, like, obviously it's a zombie movie, people are going to die, they're going to die in grotesque ways, and that's all fine. But he still has this like heroic sacrifice by like, you know, suicide kind of thing going on. There's a lot of in these movies, and I feel like it's here as well. There's definitely a couple of examples of it in here. So you know,
I guess that is kind of a theme of his. Like,
yeah, it is. Yeah, you know, his Dawn of the Dead remake. Like, there's so many characters in that sort of like, you know, the main guy in that effectively ends up like sort of blowing himself up. And when we reviewed that, I said, why? He had time to like, you know. So anyway, so. Yeah, I guess we're going to spoilers. There's full spoilers in, so we can just talk about everything. And so the opening of the movie, we actually get an opening that's set before everything. There's like it's like the military are transporting something from Area 51, and we're having what's supposed to be amusing conversation between the two drivers, where they're like, "What are we even transporting? Could it be Elvis? Could it be, well, we just came from you know where, must be an alien." Like,
funny.
And the zombie apocalypse starts because a newlywed couple are in another car, and the new bride is giving her new groom a blowjob, and
it's like the most like Zack Snyder shit.
I know, ever. It's like, so stupid. I hate
zombie apocalypse starts because like some dude's just getting his rocks off, and
and this car like explodes on impact when it hits the truck.
I assume one of their like wedding presents was just like a couple gallons of like gasoline.
Well, you know, it's getting more expensive, so you know, they stocked up and gave it as a present, you know.
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
Here's a week's worth of gas in a can. Off you go. So the soldiers get killed pretty quickly, and it just sort of ends with like the one zombie that was in the container walks out towards Las Vegas. So then we get the intro where it's the slow motion playing out as the music, you know, Viva Las Vegas, like, you know, it's really a melancholic version of it.
You see like topless women running around and stuff. It's great.
Narrator, it wasn't. Do you know what? There's nothing. It's not even that bad. It's just that we've seen them do this exact thing before. Like,
no, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like, you know, they have that like, you know, that croony song that's playing in you know, Dawn of the Dead, and then like
not even just that,
like Watchmen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, Watchmen's like, opening credits are the same idea. You know, it's this recounting what happened in slow motion as the song plays. And I'm not saying you can't do that more than once. It's just it feels so similar each time he does it. Like he's got a shtick and he's sticking to it very, very rigidly. So yeah, we come to, you know, present day, whenever that is, and rich billionaire man comes in and offers Bautista this job, and he doesn't really want to do it, but he wants to raise money and stop flipping burgers, and he goes and recruits his team. So he's obviously the main guy. His daughter is working at the quarantine like border around Las Vegas because she volunteers just to help people who are trying to get away, and there's guards who basically can like lie if they want to and say someone's like, you know, their temperatures went up, so therefore they may be infected, so they're justified in killing them on the spot. And this asshole that Theo Rossi plays, he's Bert, he is like just like preying on women. He's like making all sorts of insinuations. He's yelling and getting angry when they challenge him at all. He's just a scumbag that, and don't get me wrong, like in a horror movie sometimes you have a scumbag so you can enjoy watching them die a little bit later. Like that is a trope, that is something that is done. But this guy is like so extreme, you know, over the line.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, that could be fun if he is, you know, played as more of like a dirtbag and stuff, but I mean, it just makes it so like more like serious and like gross though, because you see the way like the other women around him are like reacting, so that like
it treats him like it treats him like a monster who you can see this type of asshole in real life. Instead, so the tone completely changes, because when all the zombie killings are happening and faces are getting ripped off, like you can tell the tone is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be this lighthearted zombie adventure action movie, but then you get to a character like this, and he's such a grade A evil dick that you can't just enjoy it for like, oh, if he was just being an asshole, then you can go with it, but the tones, and that's one of the problems I also have with Zack Snyder's. And it's the same in the Dawn of the Dead movie that he made, is that everyone is like, some of the characters are just so awful that like I don't want to root for anyone. They're terrible.
Absolutely. I mean, everything is very like kind of like dour and depressing, and like the bad guys, they're never like just bad in that kind of fun over the top way. It's like they have to be like overly evil and gross, and it just all makes it like very depressing and just like way too serious for what ultimately feels like he's trying to make like fun movies.
I mean, he had topless zombie ladies running around in the intro.
Yeah, and like attacking people dressed like Elvis and stuff, and it's like there's like a scene when like they're putting like there's like some straight up like cartoon stuff, like like when they're like putting up like the big like shipping containers to block off the city, and like it's falling on people, like, oh, that's like a Looney Tunes gag, like this should be fun. But then you cut to this like recruitment stuff, and you have people having these really serious conversations about how bad these border guards are, or like that this father and daughter kind of like reconciling, like
which, by the way, so early on there's like a flashback to like why they've got a strained relationship. It's because Bautista had to kill his wife when she turned into a zombie, and the daughter saw it, and like this plays out in ultra slow motion. This is another scene that plays out in super ultra slow motion as he walks over to her and stabs her through the top of the head with a knife, and the slow motion yell of him going like, or crying out or saying no afterwards, made me laugh. Like I thought this was laughably bad. This scene, this scene where he kills his wife in the flashback, I thought it was terrible. So I mean, that does that. But anyway, so he goes to recruit people, and his closest comrade is Maria, who's like a mechanic chick. And we'll talk, about their relationship later, I guess, when we get to like where it comes out, like all of a sudden right before her death. But we'll get to that later. So she's like his closest person, and then Vanderho, who's the big guy who likes the saw, the buzzsaw. So I feel like Zack Snyder also played some Dead Rising, and like said, what weapons do I like in Dead Rising? Because the buzzsaw is definitely one you can use in that. So he's
wasn't because was like the second or third Dead Rising game, wasn't that in like a casino or something?
The second one, it was like because the first one was a mall, and the second one was like it was still kind of mall-esque in that it had different sections that were, but it was the idea was that there was multiple casinos because it was in like a Vegas style location. So I mean, maybe that's why he's like, I've done them all. Oh, casinos.
Snyder, big gamer.
So that's his two closest buddies who are going to get the biggest cuts of his money, because he gets to choose how much he's dishing out of his cut to other people. So they go and get like a locksmith or a safecracker, maybe is a better term, and it's this like, he's like the comic relief guy named Dieter, who doesn't understand like all the military stuff, and is just kind of like he loves cracking safes, and he's like super into it.
It's so funny because he has an accent. Oh man, that's humor. That's good.
Yeah, that's his character. He has an accent, so therefore it's funny. That's great. And then they get they get the coyote in the way in, who's like this woman who takes people in who want to try and find stuff in Vegas, and they don't always come back out, but she's like someone who goes in and out all the time. So she's kind of like a stalker in the Stalker movie, but for zombie filled Las Vegas. And Sorry, Tim. It's a Criterion film. You wouldn't know. It's okay.
Okay.
But no, and she's like this kind of like reserved badass who seems to know her
is that
stuff.
That's the, is it Russian movie?
Yes, Stalkers. Yeah,
it's like yeah. Okay. I haven't seen it, but they did an episode of Cursed Films on it, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. And then you've got Martin, who's the guy who works for the boss man, who's coming in to, like, you know, because they say because he knows the casino well, but, you know, you kind of get it right away that he's probably whatever. And then then they go and get the YouTubers, and this guy brings like two of his friends, although one of them doesn't go in, one of them just leaves, like when he hears what the plan is. He's like, F this, and he runs away. And then they go to take Notaro. She may actually be first. Like I'm not necessarily specifying the order here because I'm just kind of going through them. But she's the helicopter pilot, and cool. And I think that's all of them, pretty much.
I gotta applaud you for remembering.
I mean, I don't know the names. Like I got the names off IMDb.
Oh, sure.
You know, like if I was telling you them, it would be Buzzsaw Man, Latina chick, YouTuber, Vasquez, company man. Like, you know, these would be the terms that'd be thrown around. But so of course the daughter has a reason that she wants to go into, because her friend went in trying to get some money from slot machines to pay for her family to go and live somewhere else, and she wants to go in and find her. So she's like, this is meant to be the heart of the movies. Like, she's like, no, I'm going to be a hero and go and help my friend. And Bautista's like, well, you just get, you know, leave my sight, like, you stick with me and all that jazz.
Good friend. I mean, I can't think of anyone like, you know, even my wife and son, who I love dearly, but yeah, I'm sorry if you're walking into some giant zombie filled city, and presumably they've been there for a while. Like, I don't think it's like they just went in like 10 minutes ago or something. Like, yeah, it was
at least a day before. Yeah,
so sorry. I don't not going in.
So and the coyote, she like says, hey, we need another person, and looks at the, you know, because later on she outright calls Bert a rapist. Like, she's like, I know what you've done to women, because before it's kind of just implied, but then she like just outright says it. And it's like, why do you want to bring him? He's a dirtbag. It turns out when they go in, like, very quickly, she actually ends up shooting Bert, and this is the thing, she kind of flirts with him to get him to hand over his gun, and then she shoots him in the leg. And it's like, we need to make an offering. And this is the kind of where it starts to hint at the smarter zombies, who have got like a sort of a regimen, and they're not just one of the regular shamblers. That's the regular zombies, as they call them. These are the ones that are smarter and faster, and they've got like a king and a queen. So they leave a tribute so that they won't be, I don't know, they won't like offend them by being here, so they'll let them on through or something.
So to be honest, I do kind of like this, because it is setting up, like, I think some interesting rules where it's like, okay, so these aren't just like, you know, mindless shambling zombies. Like, there are some of those, but then there's also this like kind of higher class, these alphas, and they're actually zombies that, like, you know, you can kind of work with, and you can make a sacrifice, offer a tribute, which, you know, then they'll allow you safe passage. And if the whole movie was kind of like, you know, these societal rules in the zombie realm and how you kind of have to work your way around them, and then like, you know, how you kind of manage yourself if you mess one up, and like what they do to you, like, that to me could be interesting. But they kind of have this one scene, and then it feels like they just kind of forget about it. Like, there isn't really much else about, I don't know, their society or whatever.
Yeah, other than the king wants revenge because company man kills his queen. Oh, she's technically still alive, but she's just a head at that point. So they end up like going through somewhere to get to the casino they're going to, and we get the Trinity Busan like, oh, they're all hibernating, but if we sneak past them without shining lights in their eyes and we're quiet, then we can just sneak on past. So we get like a quiet, like, we're after sneaking through. This is where we get like, one of the first gratuitous action scenes where the Vasquez of the movie. And I'm only calling her that because she's got this red bandana on, and like Zack Snyder clearly wants you to think she's this total badass, because she has this scene where she basically like takes on a horde of zombies on her own with just like 1 or 2 handguns, and is just like sort of like, you know, spinning around shooting, and it's a really over the top action scene. She does eventually die, where she's sort of left behind. It's actually the company man who kind of like turns on her and locks her behind to sort of like, I don't know, give the horde something to do while they get away. And she ends up dying in an explosion when her YouTuber friend shoots the gas, because they're all carrying gas cans for the helicopter they're going to like take that's on one of the roofs. And he shoots that, and we get this it's even the explosions in slow motion where you see the gas canister kind of turn like orange and hot before it pops.
Yeah, the thing that's unfortunate is like, you know, even if you don't really like all this kind of these characters and the over dramatic stuff that's going on, like at least you would hope that some of the zombie action could maybe redeem it. But again, it's just, you know, he's doing this style where he really just really wants it to look so cool, and it's like, yeah, trying to be like so sleek and awesome and badass, and I don't know, it just like looks boring. Like, you know, even when the zombies are attacking, it doesn't do anything for me.
I think a key lesson I would give, because you're right, it's this very try hard, I want my character to look like the coolest, you know, mother effer ever. And the problem I have with that is the characters who do end up actually feeling badass, and they do have like, say, badass action scenes, but the characters themselves, even before they ever have an action scene, are already cool, or they already have like, you know, this vibe to them, right? We already know enough about them to care. Like this woman who I'm referring to as Vasquez because she's the you know, the supposed badass Latina chick. She barely has anything before this. She has like one moment, like when they're on the bus and she turns around to company man and tells him not to talk to her, and that's like the only moment you get to sort of say, oh, she's kind of tough, and that's it. That is it. She wears a bandana. That's the extent of her character. So when she starts doing all this stuff, like I'm not like, oh yeah, she's going to fight and survive. Like I don't care about her because you've not given me anything to care about. So it's basically meaningless. And it is shot kind of like almost like a martial arts movie, kind of how slick she's moving around. So it does kind of feel a little bit too. There's not enough like, I don't know, like almost getting her. It feels like she's impenetrable until she's not, and because it's time for her to die, and that's just it. Yeah. So,
yeah, and also I don't like the the zombies. They kind of make like that same like generic scream that like, you know, you hear in all these kind of like fast zombie movies now. Like they don't really look cool or interesting. Dude, kind of boring.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm with you there. So they get to the casino and like, you know, like shockingly we're like an hour into this movie at this point. This is an hour, maybe even just slightly over an hour into this movie. That is how much time it takes to get to this point. And it probably doesn't sound like we've described an hour plus worth of stuff, but we're here. So they get to the casino and Notaro like separates from the rest, which is probably why it was like easy enough to like do this character again, because like she's on her own at the helicopter for a lot of the movie. But the others, like some of them go to turn the power back on. Safecracker, who kind of bonds a little bit with Buzzsaw Guy, like they kind of form a friendship. But they go down to deal with the safe, and one of the parts of the safe that they have to deal with is like, this was actually the part, if you're going to compare this more to Resident Evil because of like how some of the ending mimics Resident Evil 3 a little bit, I actually did think the most Resident Evil thing about this movie is actually these insane traps on the way to the safe.
Oh sure.
So the rich guy's got like deadly booby traps for anyone who steps on pressure plates on the way to his vault. So which, I mean, I the wall closing in and like making the zombie like splat that they send down to like set off all the traps, it was mildly amusing.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like that, but it's just, you know, it's such a weird tonal shift from like, you know, the rest of the movie that it just feels odd. Like in a much more, you know, fun, like kind of goofier, lighthearted zombie movie, you could totally see something like this being a very fun scene, and this is just like, okay, like, yeah, it's kind of cool, but it's weird that they're doing this.
Yeah, and there's some jokes made when he wants quiet and he makes them all shut up when he's like opening the vault, and because he has to listen for what he's doing and all the rest of it. And while this is all going on, Company Man talks Coyote into helping him with something outside, and it turns out the real reason he's there and the main goal of this whole mission is not the money. In fact, the villain doesn't even care about the money, and Company Man seemingly is going to betray them, like, no matter what. They want, like, the head of one of these smart zombies. They want to be able to replicate so they can control a zombie army, which is just... I mean, first of all, it's exactly aliens, because they want to, like, you know, get the aliens to turn them into weapons, because they're bioweapons. But also, it's just kind of like, well, okay, well, I know who the villain's going to be now. The zombie king's going to, like, be pissed that his missus has been, like, taken and wage war on you. Like, you know, good luck with that, douchebag. So, yeah. I mean, that's all going on. Around here, because the time's run out, the nuclear bomb's been moved up, it's coming soon. All of a sudden, like, Maria, right? She like starts talking to Bautista, and it turns out that they had some kind of romance. And what's weird about this is that, like, you get the impression that, like, you know, he killed his wife because she turned into a zombie, and then like they had a romance, like, during the zombie apocalypse, because it doesn't feel like they've seen each other really since they did all that stuff. And he's like, oh, I thought I left, you know, I made the mistakes and couldn't return to you, kind of thing. So when did this romance happen? Like, just during the zombie apocalypse in Las Vegas, and then once that was all done, you just went your separate ways?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Is it implying that he had an affair and, like, they were kind of in love while he was still with his wife, and like, you know, it does make him more of a dickbag, and the daughter was maybe more right to be bad at him.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. It's all dumb, so dumb. Like, he's already, like, the emotional through line is like him reconnecting with his daughter. You can't also have him, like, reconnecting with, like, this lost love. Like, you know, just give him one emotional beat. Like, so much of Zack Snyder's stuff is just so, like, overstuffed. Like, you don't need to do more.
Yeah, and it's kind of all just frivolous as well, because it's all just building up to her shock death, which happens, like, within minutes of this first ever coming up. Because they literally say as they're about to leave that, oh, they're looking forward to, you know, like, oh, going and doing something together. And then the doors open and a zombie just grabs her head and turns it full Exorcist. And it's a really stupid, funny death. Like, I laughed out loud. And
yeah,
you know, maybe if the tone was right, I would say it was intentional, but it's right after this dramatic beat, so I'm not really sure if he wants it to be darkly funny, or if he, like, just thinks this is a good shock death because you care about her now, because she's bonding with Bautista and now she's dead.
And now, I don't know if you remember, but the zombie that did it was just like a regular zombie, right? It wasn't an alpha. I don't think.
I don't know.
Right.
It wasn't the king, but maybe he sent in some other smart zombies with the horde. I don't know.
Oh, maybe just it's weird, because I don't see, like, why would a zombie do that? Like, you know, if, you know, because, like, the main kind of shamble, you know, zombie guys, like, you know, their just instinct is to just, like, bite and eat, you know, or whatever. So, like, it seems weird for them to, just like snap someone's neck around. Because
Zack Snyder thought of this cool moment that he wanted to have in his movie, so here it is.
Sure. Yeah,
that's the thing. Dieter gets bit. He actually locks, Sawblade dude, Vanderhoof in the vault, and they actually end up losing all the money, because when they get up to the casino and it's the YouTube guy, with Bautista and who's with him at this point. There's still one person with him, I'm sure.
His daughter, the coyote.
No, the daughter's ran off. It's the coyote, because the daughter's ran off at this point. The daughter's ran off because she thinks that she knows where her friend is, so she's going to this hotel. So, because the coyote, like, gave her some information about other people that, like, showed up after they went missing, and this is what
right. Yeah.
The smart zombies take you to this hotel and sort of leave you waiting before they actually, like, feed on you. So they stock up on food, as it were, and that's where they took the asshole Bart. They didn't kill him right away, but we see him later on as a zombie, so I guess that happened. So sure, just so he can still be a villain even in zombie form, if that was important to them. But yeah, we get this big slow motion sequences of like all the money's flying through the air as they're shooting like all the zombies in the casino, and like Bautista's drawing across the table.
Really makes you think, was the money all worth it?
I would say it looks like it doesn't. I would certainly say that. YouTuber like gets bit, so he like sets off his grenades and like helps them escape. And they get to the roof, and because the daughter's disappeared to go and find her friend, which she does find, but very quickly, you know, they hear zombies and like they're in trouble. What I thought was really weird about this whole thing is that, so the heart of the movie, you know, other than the father-daughter bond, is that the daughter cares about saving these innocent people, and she takes all these risks, goes off on her own to find them, and basically within like 10 seconds of finding them, there's two of them. The one who's not the main one gets instantly killed, like is instantly grabbed by a zombie and dies, and then the other one dies like before they even get out of the city. Like, so all of it was for nothing. Like Dave Bautista at least had a wad of cash that he put in his pocket, like when they first found the money, that was still in his pocket at the end of the movie. So he at least had something to show for his big suicidal zombie like heist. The daughter has nothing to show for it.
And again, it's like I feel like, you know, if I may call him Zack, you know, I feel like Zack really wants us to, you know, feel like the weight of these death and stuff, but I don't know, like we like just met the characters like, you know, 2 seconds ago, so yeah, because it doesn't like mean anything. They're
not really characters, they're just like the goal that the daughter had, you know, they're plot MacGuffins basically. So them dying instantly is not shocking. It just makes me go, well, all of that time and effort that we spent with her wanting to go find them feels like a waste now. You know, I mean, that's to say that you can't kill them off. You can, but you have to like treat it like a big moment, and this doesn't feel like a big moment. It feels like immediately it's just her in danger again, and you know, Daddy has to come in. So the big thing it copies from Aliens is that, so it gets Tig Notaro to fly them in the helicopter, which she's got working, over to this hotel. And he's like, right, wait here for us. And he goes in. In fact, I think Coyote's already dead at this point. I think Coyote died when they were leaving the helicopter from the first building, because the king comes out and gets speared, against the wall. And she drops the queen's head off the side of the building, and it splats in the concrete because she has it. She swapped it from because the asshole tried to lock them in and ran away. And he realizes he's been duped, and that his bag got switched out. Like the head gets switched out with the machine, the money counting machine, and like he
gets killed by the zombie tiger, which because he kind of had like a running thing before, like when they first see the tiger. I forget what he says exactly, but he has like some really dumb thing that's not a joke, but the movie wants you to think it's a joke. Where, you know, they see the tiger and he basically says like zombie tiger, like, oh, that's messed up, man. Like, I'm sorry, that's not a joke. Like, it's just, you know, someone literally like doing like a meta comment on the movie, and I hate those kind of like quote unquote jokes because they're just dumb and not funny.
Yeah, he has his face ripped off. Obviously, it's CG.
Like you said, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, so it's not the best looking. Like, in theory, I like what it's trying to do, but you know,
right. Like, yeah, in theory, I actually do think like, oh, you know, introducing animals is something cool that you don't see in a lot of zombie movies, and yeah, it is Las Vegas, so they do have, you know, like those kind of like magic shows with tigers and stuff. So it could make sense that there would be a zombie tiger there, you know, roaming around, and that is cool and different, but if you're gonna do it, you gotta make it look good, man. Like, you can't like half-ass it.
So the big thing from Aliens is, you remember in Aliens, so Ripley's like, I need to go back and get Newt, and she tells Bishop to like stay and be there to pick them up on the platform, and she goes and gets Newt and comes back, and Bishop's not there, and she's like, damn you, Bishop, you left us. But then he rises up and he's like, oh no, it was just getting too unstable, like I never left, I was just circling until you came out. And it's like, oh, okay, all right, crisis averted. That exact beat is played in this movie, where he runs in, he gets his daughter, they run back to the roof, and the helicopter's not there, and he's like, she left us, and immediately I'm thinking, Aliens. And then sure enough, you hear the chopper, and it comes up from from the side of the building. And I mean, it doesn't sound like she left because she had to. She said it sounded like she considered actually just ditching them and then regretted it and came back. But yeah, you know, whatever. Like, the beat plays the exact same way as Aliens. except this time, you know, the zombie king runs and jumps into the helicopter, bites Bautista. The helicopter, like, you know, like turns on its side, and there's a big action scene as the helicopter's flying through the air and like falling to the ground, and we get the Resident Evil 3 ending. We see the nuke going past the helicopter to hit the city, to contain the city, and we get them, like, you know, the helicopter being bumped by the shockwave, and eventually it crashes. So Tig Notaro's character dies. Dave Bautista's been bit. But he did shoot the zombie king in the head though with a handgun. It made his head explode. I was like, how powerful was that handgun? That feels a bit bit much. But so that a crash landing with a helicopter, the daughter somehow survived without a scratch, and Bautista's like, here, take this wad of cash. I'm about to die. So make sure you shoot me because I'm turning into a zombie soon. And he says something heartfelt, and she shoots him. And
hey, yeah, I wish you could open up that food truck. We're gonna serve whatever.
Oh yeah, that's the running thing. Because when he tries to bond with her, they make small talk. He's like, hey, I was thinking I'd open up a restaurant or a food truck. I was thinking, how about what was the first thing he said? I don't know what the food was, but the second time it was tofu, because he's like, oh, you can make anything. You can make tofu burgers, tofu fries, tofu this, tofu that.
I think like it was something stupid. It was like, yeah, we'll serve pancakes. She was like, Dad, no one's gonna want pancakes. And then, of course, yeah, you have to have the callback at the end. I could have served pancakes. It's like, oh, I guess you're not a bad dad after all.
It's such a thin attempt at trying to like build this, like, you know, emotional relationship where we're going to feel like there's this weight to it and care about the two characters. It just does not work.
Yeah. And then like you pause the movie and you're like, there's still like 45 minutes left.
I know. Yeah, because I think that first time he talks about it and they're kind of both smelling a little bit, she ends up sort of like backing off and going, look, Dad, I've hated you for so long. I can't just like turn that off. And he's like, oh, I understand. And he goes back to what he's doing. Just like, do you know the thing is?
And like it's... What's that?
The thing is that if you actually give like them an arc where she feels that he's not there for her, and then by showing up to save her, it's him proving that he will be there for her no matter what, you could then understand why she feels differently about him at the end. But the way it is, it's just kind of this vague, like, I don't like you, you did the horrible thing to my zombie mother, even though I understand what a zombie is, and that, like, I shouldn't really blame you for that.
Right.
But like, it's just basically, oh, we've went through all this turmoil, so I guess I just feel differently now. There's nothing specifically in what they go through that makes it feel like, oh, she should have changed her mind, like she's like sort of realized that her dad cares about her because of this kind of thing.
And it's also just like really poorly portrayed, because it kind of makes you not like her character that much, because like Dave Bautista's been nothing but like a good guy the whole movie. Like everything we see of him is like him doing the right thing. So to have this character that doesn't like him for, you know, for most of the movie, like you're not really exactly sure why. Like it kind of, it's annoying. Like it, you know, it's not really doing her character any justice to.
Yeah, she actually, you're right. She comes off as the annoying one, because right from the get go, he's like, hey, like, you know, I'm going to give you this money if you help me get to the quarantine zone, and like you can help, because you know, he understands that she cares about helping these kids that are like, you know, homeless now, and he's like, you know, help these kids go back to university, whatever it is, like. You, I'm sure you'll do the right thing with it. Like he's not like he's enforcing what she should do with her life on her or anything like that. And the thing that she's mad at him for, which is the killing the zombie. I mean, later on she says it wasn't that. It was that he wasn't around afterwards. But like, okay, you can tell us that now, but you're telling us that so late in the movie. Like, it's not like we get a flashback of him like not showing up to something, or leaving her like in the you know, like throwing her under the bus by like not showing up, or well, you know, whatever it may be. Like, it just like, this is just a throwaway line you practically add in like really late in the movie to sort of like say, oh no, it's not just the killing the mum thing, it's like you weren't there after it. And it's like, okay, but there's been no evidence of this up until now. Like this is completely just new, and you're just telling me about it. So yeah, it doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work. And then there's like an epilogue scene where Vanderhoof survived in the vault, and he comes climbing out. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but isn't there like radiation after a nuclear bomb?
You would think.
But he just, you know, he comes out, he's perfectly fine, he's just sauntering through the now destroyed and flattened Las Vegas. He walks all the way with 2 big bags of money to an airport, rents a plane, and like convinces the attendants to like have a drink with him. And the end of the movie is him getting out of the bathroom and realizing that he's been bit and he's going to turn into a zombie, and it kind of ends it on this joke moment of oh shit, right? Which, by the way, his Dawn of the Dead remake, Zack Snyder, ends in a very similar ah shit, we're all screwed like ending. Like it's the exact same thing.
But no, so this is so frustrating because we see like Bautista gets bit and then he turns into a zombie like what, like a minute or two.
Yeah, because he gets bit when they're in the helicopter and then they crash a minute later, and then he has time for a little emotional talk, maybe another minute or two long, and then he's a zombie.
And then this guy, you gotta imagine he's in the vault for like at least a couple of hours, you know, if not like a day or something, and yet he's been bitten that whole time and like hasn't changed and hasn't realized it. Like, it's so dumb. It's
inconsistent. I think the bigger problem I have is that it says that they're going to New Mexico, I think they said, or Mexico City, maybe. Was it Mexico City? I don't know. But wherever they say they're going, it's like another populated city. And all I could think was, dude, kill yourself before you spread it, you idiot. Like, all you're going to do is create another city that, like Vegas, that needs to be contained, and maybe they won't be able to contain it. Maybe it'll get worse, and you know, it'll spread all over the world. All you have to do to stop this is to kill yourself before you spread it. And I know that sounds dark, but like it sort of says, oh shit, like there's nothing I can do, everyone's screwed.
Here we go again.
But you can do something. There's just, I mean, you know you're a goner. There's no point in pretending you may survive.
Yeah, or just be like, hey, you know, like lock yourself in the bathroom, tell the stewardess like, hey, and it's not like you have to make something up, because apparently just people know zombies exist in this world, because you know, like I assume everyone knows what's going on in Vegas and stuff. So
I imagine it's maybe been on the news a couple of times, Tim.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a plot point, because they mentioned that they're like nuking Vegas on the news. So just, you know, pop your head up, be like, hey, guess what? I'm turning into a zombie, gonna lock myself in the bathroom. Don't let me out. Maybe get someone, when we land, get someone with a gun to come and for when I come shambling out or whatever. Like, yeah, that's what all you need to do.
Yep, and there's going to be sequels. Like Netflix greenlit a sequel, so. Well,
I mean, obviously I didn't watch it. I assume you didn't watch it, but there's I think it's out, because I think after I watched it, there's an autoplay trailer for it or whatever. But there's like a prequel series about like I don't know if it's just a few of the team members or if it's all of them or whatever. It's like Army of Thieves.
Oh, right. I did not realize that was out.
I have no idea if there's like actual zombie stuff in it or if it's just their lives as thieves or whatever, but I honestly didn't watch it.
It's 2 hours and 7 minutes, so it's just a movie.
Oh, is it? Oh, I thought it was a series, but
it's not directed by Snyder though. He's presumably like get a hand in producing it and maybe like something, but no, it's the German guy. It's the Safecracker. It's a movie about him.
Just him? Okay.
But yeah, but
he was so funny though.
I like to get into saves. It makes me horny.
Very good.
Yeah,
hope someone isolates that that audio.
I mean, it says action, comedy, and crime on this, so I'm guessing it's not even remotely a horror movie, which is good for us because we don't have to watch it. But I think they have greenlit like an army, like a proper Army of the Dead 2 or something.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can look forward to that bad boy.
Cool.
It could be worse.
It could be worse.
That's basically all I have. That's the positive thing I could say, is that it could have been even worse. As it is, it's bloated, it's overlong. I don't like the characters. I don't like how stylish and like sort of self-indulgent the action scenes are. But he's made worse. He's made worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me the big problem is the length, because, if it was a 90-minute movie, I mean, yeah, like I still wouldn't like it, but at least it's like, you're over and done with it, which, the fact that it's like a little over 2.5 hours, it just makes it such a chore to watch,
I think that's one of the funny things about the slow motion is that you spend 2 hours before all the shit hits the fan towards the end when they're having the big fight in the casino. So when they go into this ultra slow motion for the fight, I'm like, the audacity of you to go all into slow motion when we just spent 2 hours building to this point. Like, this is taking far too long to get here, and you're now wasting more time by doing it at 1/20th of the speed or whatever it's like. So, by the way, I looked up. The sequel is called Planet of the Dead. So I guess they don't contain it this time.
I mean, if it was like, astronauts fly to another planet that has zombies on it, that could be interesting. But if it's just more stuff on Earth, it's probably just gonna be more of the same.
Yeah, I mean, the upside is that they probably can't really have many. There's almost no characters that come back. I'd hope the daughter doesn't come back because she's not interested enough really to care about.
Yeah.
Maybe the billionaire will get like a cameo, and like they'll still have him like sort of be whoever's behind like the plot of the movie. Perhaps, I don't know.
Yeah.
But what else do you want from us? Like,
when the sequel comes out, just don't put it in a vote, you silly guy.
Don't we have to kind of do it by default because we did the first one?
No.
I like the way you think, Tim. I like the way you think.
Life's too short.
We just
you can't.
Yes, unlike a Zack Snyder movie, life's too short.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll just not do it. We just won't.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. That's a great idea. I mean, inevitably that people are going to make me put it as a goal or something on a stream, but
yeah, I mean, I don't trust you because unfortunately I can't watch you 24/7. So I know at some point you're gonna do a stream or a Twitter poll or a TikTok or something where there's some type of vote, and then some sneaky little stinker patron will be like, "Oh, why don't you guys do this movie?" And then we'll have to do it.
I mean, there's a reason why we've done 3 Twilight movies. This
yeah.
Put
Thanks,
it that way. So probably expect the next one of those to be a winner of some kind soon. But I'm just getting like this silent like curse.
I mean,
Tim.
Wait, how many? We've done 3 of them, right? Or
Yeah,
just
so
2?
there's 2 left. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, we might as well finish it out.
Yeah, but not for free. Well, I'll do some goals and stuff too.
And maybe I'll do some goals too.
Yeah, do a I don't know, maybe a speed walking challenge. Try and walk a mile in under. I don't know what's a good time
2
for
days.
2 days. If you don't make it in 2 days, Tim, something's gone horribly wrong.
Yeah, or horribly right, if you get my meaning.
I don't. I definitely don't. What good thing might happen on this walk that might be a good scenario?
I find some free hot dogs.
Oh, okay, free hot dogs.
Yeah.
All right.
God, do I have to explain what a hot dog is to you?
I'm familiar with the hot dog, Tim. You don't have to explain hot dog. All right, I think we can wrap up. And just rate this some bitch here. I mean, because I mean, is there anything else to talk about? I feel like that's probably the biggest the biggest indictment of this movie is that it's 2.5 hours long, and yet this is not a super short episode, but we're actually coming under what recent, like, this is shorter than our Final Destination review, and that's kind of our 40 of that movie. So that just sort of shows just how much time is spent doing things slowly rather than having a lot of ideas or a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. So yeah, basically screw it. I hate this movie. What do you give it, Tim? What do you give it?
Thinking like a 3.5. I don't know. Not sure if that's too harsh, but I mean, I mean, like you said, yes, it can definitely be worse. And if you are looking at the oeuvre of Mr. Zack Snyder, Zack, Zacky boy, as I sometimes call him, yeah, it's definitely not the worst. It's probably actually higher up than most of his movies. But again, it's a low bar because unfortunately, I don't really particularly enjoy his stuff. So, I mean, other than maybe a few good ideas here and there isn't really much that I like about it. It's so long and over stuff that just makes it such a chore and to get through. And then, unfortunately, like, can't even really justify it with, like, oh, well, at least there's some cool gore or cool death scenes. Like, I don't really like any of the, like, more horror-y aspects of it, which, when you're a horror podcast and talking about potentially horror movies, that's... Yeah, that's bad news.
Yeah, the only thing it tries to do for horror fans would be the over the top gore, but even
that it's like not like memorable and stuff, and like the like at least with the Dawn of the Dead remake, at least like I remember like some of the gore and stuff more vividly in that one. So, while I'm particularly not like crazy about that film, I actually would put that one higher up than this, but. I mean, I still don't love that one, but...
Yeah, I really detested that one last time you watched it, but... So go on then. We're sure. Oh, you gave it a rating. Sorry.
So, yeah, 3.5, I guess.
Yeah, I forgot you said it at the start. I thought you were building up to it.
I could be talked up to a 4 if you were to offer me a hot dog.
I mean, I was thinking a 4 because I do think it's not like as bad as... It's not as bad as Sucker Punch. It's not as bad as some of these other things. Some of it's debatable.
There's no jar of piss in this one.
No, there's not. There may as well be, but there's not. Like, Watchmen's a funny one because I remember liking it well enough.
It is funny
when I watched it originally. I think if I tried watching that again, I probably wouldn't like it very much. I think all the Zack Snyder-y things in it, and the fact that I mean, I had read Watchmen when I first saw it, but I've read Watchmen like 3 times now. And I've talked about it. I've analyzed it. The TV show that HBO did was actually a very interesting, like, sort of like spin-off of the original story. There's been comics that have been kind of interesting spin-offs, like Tom King's Rorschach. Like, I think that movie is going to play worse than it ever has for me now. So
I mean, it's not one that I've watched that many times. I might have only seen it once, maybe twice, but I mean, to me, it is like the exact opposite of like what you should do for a Watchmen movie. Like, I think like one of the big things about Watchmen is it is supposed to be a realistic take on superheroes. So yeah, the characters are like out of shape and like, like when they have like a sex scene, it's like, like the dude like can't get it up, like versus the Snyder movie where it's like these like the hottest, Hollywood actors that are like going at it in slow motion. And like, to me, that's just like the exact opposite of what the comic book.
I don't remember. Did the movie not have the not getting up part of that? Did they just have hot sex?
Yeah, remember, like they're having. I believe they have sex in. I think the owl ship to the song Hallelujah.
That's right. Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying though, like the comic book is supposed to be like very like like realistic and like it's not supposed to look pretty. It's supposed to kind of look grimy and stuff. And like the Watchmen movie, it looks so sleek and everyone is like sexy and they're moving like superhero action dudes. Like it's just like the exact opposite of what the comic book should be, which is one of the reasons why I hate it. But I mean. Yeah, I don't remember liking it when it came out. I'll probably revisit it at some point just because I get interested to revisit stuff like that. But I'm sure I'll hate it.
Yeah, well there you go. That's Army of the Dead. It's a Zack Snyder movie, and we hate Zack Snyder movies pretty much. So there you go. Shocking, no one.
Shock.
I don't know if I'll break out a song. I don't know what to tell you. But there you go.
Sometimes my son will do this thing where we say, if we go shock, he'll go like this. He'll like.
Because he wants to be an actor and he's practicing. He's like.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
He's got the goods.
He's a little thespian, all right. Yes. Tim's going to have him auditioning for leprechaun roles when he's about 4 years old. He'll be about the right height. So
unfortunately, there's no leprechaun Easter eggs in this movie. I could have gone up a whole point if they would have at least referenced like a leprechaun encased in rock or something somewhere in this.
It's either 3 or 4. I've heard. I don't know how true this is. This could be a complete myth, but I've heard that when it's either 3 or 4, you're exactly half of your height, like your full height.
Really?
Something like that. Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe bullshit. But yeah.
I always imagine like you're still pretty short at that age, but I mean, it could be.
I mean, if you think about like how tall you are, if you half that, how tall is that?
Let's see. Well, you grow about a foot every year, so you're probably about 4 feet when you're 4, which means you'd be about 8 feet when you're 8. So that checks out.
That's not how height works. No.
Well, what do you know? You're in the metric system. Probably think like I'm sorry. Oh yeah, you'd be 12 liters or whatever.
Different measurement style for different things, Timmy.
Sure.
So yes, this has been Scrooge After Midnight. We've been talking about Army of the Dead. By all means, let us know what you think in the movie in the comments below. If you liked it, cool for you. There's no harsh feelings. There's no harsh feelings from us.
It's all good, baby. You can like a movie,
but we'll piss in this movie's grave and leave it at that. So
movies should die.
So let us know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. You can support us a number of ways. You can like, subscribe, all that stuff. You can of course do it financially by hitting the super thanks button on the YouTube page, or you can of course do it by going to patreon.com/mailfuzztv, which is probably the one I'd recommend the most, because for as little as $1 per month you get a bonus episode every month, as well as an episode every month of even more streams, which is me and Tim talking about even more horror movies in a more casual setting. So if that sounds interesting and you maybe get some early access at one of the higher tiers and a couple other things, go and have a look and see if you're interested. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies. We're out.